Okay, now my favorite part. This is one feature of our offering that we are most proud of, and it is an exclusive from Heritage. No other company worldwide is offering this service for 911s. The factory used skived leather to cover many components within 911s. The door cappings of a garnish rails, the knee rolls, the dash pad, the ashtray piece, and so on. Can these pieces be covered in full thickness leather? No, not with these results. Why did Porsche go to the trouble and expense of using skived leather? Because it's the only thing that really works. These upper cappings on the rear quarters they used full thickness leather because they can be trimmed in full thickness leather. But for the results that they needed and for the results that our customers insist on now, we offer skived leather. Now, skived leather 101. Full thickness auto hide is 1.1 to 1.4 millimeters thick. You can see on the back of this panel it's quite thick, and we want it thick. And soft is not good for automotive leather. We want it thick, and we want it have a certain amount of stiffness because we want it to look good, not just now but in the future. So full grain automotive leather has a characteristic that is completely different from furniture and fashion leather and so on. So that's full thickness leather. Skiving of leather simply means the thinning or reducing of the overall thickness. You can see our little swatch here. Approximately half thickness is 0.77 millimeters, and of course it starts to get quite subtle and flexible. So you can feel it as it reduces in size. Now we're down to a third thickness. That's 0.5, so half a millimeter. Okay, and so on down to this 0.40 millimeters. It almost becomes paper thin. Of course, this was used in the bookbinding in medieval times and right up until the 1800s. Leather was used, skived leather was used for this type of application. So the machine that does it, we have a small skiving machine in-house, and some of the smaller pieces we can do in-house, but the larger pieces, as it was done at the factory, are done on a very special machine. We subcontract this to a friend that has the machine in Germany. It's approximately 300,000 euro machine. It's very expensive. It's a giant planer, for want of a better word. So we give a piece of leather like this. It goes in, has these self-sharpening blades, and you set the thickness. They use a micrometer to gauge everything, and then you feed the leather into this planer type thing, and it cuts the suede off the back. And of course okay, Porsche guys, you'll all recognize this 911 dash, usually in pretty shabby condition at this point, some worse than others. Each one that we get in tends to have a different sad story, sometimes split, sometimes cracked, lifted. It varies. This one is in reasonable condition, at least on the top side. There are some problems, however. And this is going to be covered in leather. There is no way to bring this back to life as a vinyl product, as it's vacuum formed PVC with the grain embossed in. So nobody gets into. I think there's some repair shops that do that kind of work, but that's typically not what we do here at Heritage. So you can see this one's pretty poor condition, the steel. So we're gonna glass bead and paint the rust, the steel that we can get at here, as a starting point. We're going to epoxy repair these steel pieces for reinforcing, and this is delaminated quite badly, and of course that will be epoxy repaired, glued. This has got a nasty little divot which comes through to the front. Now that, of course, covered in leather, will show through, so we have a way of dealing with that. We cut back the raised bits, we bondo fill, sand down carefully, the whole thing gets sanded down. There's a little bump there, so we deal with the it's like body work. What you get underneath is what you see on top. So we want our leather to look beautiful, and in this particular case, this 75 Spec 930 Turbo had no speaker here. It was a transition. Well, the early cars had the speakers, and there's a whole nother video that I'll have to make regarding the speaker grills. I can say that we are capable of doing it in leather, and we actually have our computer cutting machine with the punch holes to punch the speaker holes that match the grill perfectly, which is exactly how Porsche did it. In this particular case, it's being covered right over. We're going to fill this, and the whole thing will be in leather. So we'll look back at this later, but for now, a pretty good starting point there. And as they say in the newspaper business, watch this page. Okay, we're looking at some still pictures of just how bad this 911 dash is before we start to work on magic here at Heritage. You can see the rust and the delamination of the foam to the steel. Been pretty bad. And that's the speaker that gets covered in this application. You see the cracking of the PVC. Another close-up of the damaged PVC. The blank plate going in. I guess that's it. Okay, so 911 dash, fully upholstered in leather. You saw in the earlier videos just how poor condition this was, and all the repairs are now completed, and the leather cover is sewn and installed. You can see how beautifully it turns out, just like brand new, with the correct top stitch perfectly placed. And again, when this goes into the car, it'll look absolutely beautiful. And there's no evidence of that radio panel in this. You can see how the guys got the leather to wrap around that. This is perfect. And again, this side, very difficult to do. There we go. And that's what we can do here at Heritage Upholstery, beautiful Palm Springs, California.